Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on what is a TD Friday. We had to move things around. Mike Borgonzi had his pre-draft presser yesterday, but we've got Teron Davenport in studio for the full 3 hours today. TD, what's going on?
What's going on, man? It's Freaky Friday. I woke up this morning, man. I had a song on my mind, man. Biz Markie. It said, "Yeah, come on, baby. It's spring again. Everybody know it's spring again. For all the boys and girls and people above, this is a time to fall in love. Come on, baby. Yeah."
We got to get Parker to play that now.
Look, I'm a firm believer in Feel Good Fridays, and sometimes like you wake up. Well, when I say you, I say me. I always wake up with good energy, but sometimes I wake up and I'm just like in a really good mood.
Yeah.
And this is one of those days. So it's dope to be able to get on here and talk some shop, man. We got some things to go over, and this time next week, man.
I know.
We might have to be talking people off the bridge, and we'll get into all that.
Yes,
and more.
I heard you. It's nice that listeners get to double up with TD. You had him for 15 minutes over on Robbie and Retro this morning. We got him for the full 3 hours here on Next Man Up.
That's right.
And it's going to be nice. Next Thursday, you're not going to Pittsburgh, right?
No,
right?
No.
'Cause, I mean, all the coverage stuff is
it's
here.
all at the facility.
So
it's best to do it there, man.
We will get a TD draft day next week, which
yeah.
will be great. So we are 6 days away from the NFL draft. Lots to get into, and we will. We'll maybe have to talk some Titans fans off the ledge if things go a certain way next Thursday in the NFL draft. Let's start with a couple of non-draft things. Most of this show is going to be draft related, but you did put out an article yesterday on one of the comments Mike Borgonzi made about Cam Ward. Looks like he is going to be ready to throw at minicamp, which not unexpected based on some of the videos we've seen, some of the reports we've heard. But it's great to hear that Cam Ward is going to be a full go with a new offense, some new weapons, and he's going to be able to take all of that in, take all of those reps as he leads up to year 2.
Yeah, and that's so big because there are a bunch of things at stake. You're looking at the timing being developed with Wan'Dale Robinson, Daniel Bellinger too, and continuing to be processed with the other receivers. Ridley's coming back. You're looking at that, but most importantly, you're looking at the mechanics and him being able to bank those reps of that footwork going the way it's supposed to go under not Robert Saleh, ultimately, but under Brian Daboll's scheme. And they get to come together and really kind of set a foundation. All right, look, because here's the thing. Minicamp, OT, like that's when the teaching happens.
Right.
All right. By the time you get to training camp, it's like, hey, man,
time to go.
It's time to rock.
Yep.
Like we're just going forward. We're not doing any lateral movement. We're not trying to go back and refine fundamentals. It needs to be done by the time you get to camp. So there's another opportunity to do it.
Yes, and it was one of the big worries when he went down with that injury in Jacksonville, and the initial reporting was, it's a grade 3 AC joint sprain. He might need surgery, and that could cost him most of, if not all of, the offseason. So it's been awesome to see that the timeline is a little bit accelerated.
Mm-hmm.
He should be good to go. The weapon's not all that different. I mean, you mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson and Daniel Bellinger coming in, but we never know what's going to happen in the draft. And, building relationships with some of those rookies as well, going to be important as he heads into year 2.
Yeah, no, that's going to be imperative. One way or another, whether it's 4, 35, 66, wherever.
Yep.
Or if they manufacture a pick. One way or another, they're going to add to the offense, right? So there will be some getting in sync there. So that's a great point. I just think, just getting Cam Ward on the field and getting those bank reps, that's imperative. So I love the fact that it's trending that way. Shout out Daryl Colbert Jr. DC, comes here to Nashville and works with Cam, also with Diego Pavia. And they've just been doing the things that they need to do.
That was one of the few non-draft things that was brought up at the press conference yesterday, but most of it centered around next week's NFL draft. And I thought it was funny right off the bat. The first question was, would Jeremiah Love be worth the 4th pick? Not in so many words, but, kind of try to tiptoe around it. And I thought it was really funny how Mike Borgonzi kind of sidestepped the question. He's like, yeah, Jeremiah Love's a special player. He's got speed. He can make plays out of the backfield. But, man, those edge guys at the top, they're great too. So we're going to have some options up there.
Yeah, and look, they may not have those options looking how this draft may end up going at 2 and 3, but he was like, hey, man, like I talked about it at the combine, done with it. I think it's a matter of generating a buzz, right?
Yeah.
And he said it later, the smoke screen and the smile on his face when he was asked if he partakes in it. And I think that's some of what that was. But at the same time, if either of those edge guys are there, I think that's probably the direction.
I agree.
If Bailey's there, forget it.
Yes.
That's it.
We talked yesterday about most likely picks. And so I said I think most likely I would go Love, then Styles, then Reese, then Bailey, just because I think Reese and Bailey are going to be gone.
Okay.
But if I had to go, in order of if they're on the board, who are they taking? I think I'd like completely flip it. I think it would be Bailey, Reese, and then Love, Styles probably would be my guess.
Yeah, Reese is really interesting. And you heard Borgonzi talk about him. He said he's one of the most, because I asked him about, because the big thing with Reese is projection. And this is why I would hate to be a GM or a high-ranking personnel person, because you're projecting a guy that you haven't seen.
Right.
It's different with Bailey. Like, oh, yeah, I saw you effectively do it.
You had
14 and a half times. You know what I mean? Now, Reese, you're looking, I think, at 6.5 sacks. But it's just so much projection.
Right.
And it's like, I haven't seen you do it. So I'm like, hey, Mike, how do you go about? And he said he looked at the traits. He called him the most explosive player he's seen.
Yes.
That kind of got like swept under the radar, but that rang a bell to me. And then he said he showed flashes.
I think that was a really important comment that he made. And I do think, and I said this yesterday, I think if Reese is on the board at 4, I think he's the pick. I think I'd be 50-50 on whether I'd want Love or Reese there, but I would totally understand it with Arvell Reese because you've seen it. And I told you before we went on, I went back and watched a couple of games of Arvell Reese yesterday.
Boy,
and
listen.
It's like I had seen the cut-ups, and you see the stuff that everybody talks about. I mean, for a guy who's not a power rusher, the upper body strength and the ability to just kind of dog walk tackles at his size is really impressive. The explosiveness. He's talked about that he's never really done any kind of work on pass rush moves. He just goes out and freestyles it. Like, all of it's really impressive. But I told you, I watched 2 games. I watched the Texas game and I watched the Big Ten championship game against Indiana. And I'm watching Arvell Reese, and I kept seeing 0 pop up. And I'm like, it was like I was watching an Arvell Reese film that was really a Sonny Styles highlight tape.
That dude, we're talking about a bunch of really good defenders, right? David Igbenogson, the corner, right? You're talking about Arvell Reese. You're talking about the safety, like Caleb Downs. Like, there are a lot of that front. But there was one player that's just consistently, he's first to the ball. He's first to the ball. He's first to the ball. And it's Sonny Styles, man. This dude is a tremendous player. He just so happens to be a position that not everybody wants to draft early.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's all about adding impact players. He's an impact player. You were talking about a guy who you feel is a slam dunk for the number 4 overall pick. And you're like, hey, man, I watch his film. All I see is this other guy. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
And that's the difference is you look at a lot of these picks, and I think that's why Arvell Reese would be a polarizing pick at number 4 is with David Bailey and Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles, you can flip on the tape and you can see it. That dude could be the number. He is worthy of the number 4 overall pick. With Arvell Reese, it's like, hey, you don't quite see it all the time on his college film, but because of the tools that he has, you think with Robert Saleh coaching him and Aaron Whitecotton, that they're going to be able to get the most out of him.
Yeah.
That's why I think it would be polarizing, because it's like you have to believe in it when you haven't really seen it yet.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, the projecting part of it. Now, you mentioned him being able to bull rush and stuff. It's very interesting how that explosiveness, that speed to power works.
Yeah.
I think anytime I hear speed to power, there's 2 guys that I think of. One is like, oh yeah, I get it 100% because he has 100+ sacks. Elvis Dumervil.
Yeah,
man, Elvis Dumervil was shorter than me, But that dude just had a way of getting up under them, and his get off was so good, speed to power. But another one, and I wish I like Lane Johnson. I used to always talk to him about this guy because he hated practicing against him. Steven Means, who he was on that 2017 championship team with the Eagles. He played for Atlanta as well. And this dude, when you talk about speed to power, man, he would get it. And I think that's what Arvell Reese brings, that ability to get alignment off balance, get up underneath him, and drive him back. But see, here's the thing. When you have potential like that, it's kind of a gift and a curse. There's a saying that coaches have where they're like, son, your potential could get me fired.
Yep. And that I think Arvell Reese is going to be off the board before the Titans pick. Like as it stands right now, that's kind of where it looks. I mean, David Bailey was trending to go number 2. I was looking at the odds yesterday, and now Arvell Reese is the favorite again. I think that could have flipped since the last time I looked, though. I mean, this is an unpredictable draft. I do think Arvell Reese, people are going to be disappointed if the Titans take him, because I think Titans fans are all in on Jeremiah Love at this point. But you're getting a good player, and Mike Borgonzi even made the point yesterday that he doesn't have to play exclusively on the edge. We've seen it with Micah Parsons, who's the big comp for Arvell Reese. He called it the spinner position. Like, line him up over the center and just say, go mess something up on third down. Go attack a gap and go mess something up. And so I think Arvell Reese would be a good pick, but again, I don't think he's going to be there. I think it probably is going to come down to Jeremiah Love or Sonny Styles. And the Titans fans would probably be pretty upset if they pick Sonny Styles there, even though he's a very good player.
They're going to be distraught.
Well, guess what? We're going to talk about the other side of the equation that you talked with Robbie and Rexro this morning of, hey, if the team goes Sonny Styles and tackle at 35, Gonna be some callers on Friday morning, and I guess on Monday morning too. We will get into the offensive line next, because Mike Borgonzi had some very intriguing answers on the offensive line, specifically on the possibility of picking a tackle early in the draft. We'll talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to join the conversation. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And as always, when TD's on, 10 a.m. to 10:30. That is your time. Get your questions in for TD. Talk to TD at 10 a.m. We will get to those on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
You see left tackle in the first 3 rounds is kind of tying into what we talked about already, but you've obviously got Dan Moore and a big investment in Dan Moore. Yeah. Would it be at all difficult to take that guy knowing you're either sitting a $22 million guy or you're sitting a high pick in the first round, given that you have a lot of other places where you need to get people on the field?
The big guys are hard to find, Paul. As you know, there's not too many guys that are that big and athletic. I think that's why, those guys get taken so high. Or when you have a chance to acquire, those type of positions, I think you have to do it regardless. And then, however it shakes out, whoever wins the position battle, and, to have an opportunity to get a young tackle in here to develop, no matter where we take him, I think you have to certainly think about doing that.
That was Mike Borgonzi yesterday at his pre-draft press conference. I thought that was a great question from Paul Kuharsky about, you got Dan Moore at left tackle, but it's more of a Band-Aid. Do you consider drafting one high? And Mike Borgonzi said, don't count it out for the Titans this year. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Feel Good Friday here with TD.
This is good music, man. I saw them do this in person. That's BBD and Boyz II Men.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah. They said, all right, check this one out. See if this one moves you. Doom 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 nada, doom 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 nada, da ya ya, da da. Hey, listen, man. If I could sing, I would sing all the time.
I was gonna say it really is a Feel Good Friday. We're 2 for 2 on segments with TD singing, and that's right. It's great. We love it. Let's go 12 for 12.
Yeah, don't play H-Town Emotions, man. Then I'll really hit it.
H-Town Emotions.
Yeah, don't do it because I don't want to make anybody.
I can't tell
crash.
if you're being serious or not.
I don't want to make anybody crash.
Parker, you're holding people's lives in your hand back there.
It's a lot of power.
TD, we were talking about it earlier, and you were on with Robbie and Rexroad at 8, and they asked about the scenario of, hey, what are Titans fans going to do if Mike Borgonzi goes Sonny Styles at 4, linebacker, and then takes a tackle at 35, who, I mean, I would guess if you draft a tackle this year, he's not going to play over Dan Moore. So it's somebody who's going to have to sit and develop, and you hope would be the left tackle of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Borgonzi made it seem much more possible than maybe we would have thought that he considers tackle early on, just because of how hard good players are to find at that position. And you got a young quarterback. Dan Moore's not going to be the left tackle for much longer. I would guess probably this is his last season, maybe one more. You've got to address that position soon. Mm-hmm. And maybe if there's somebody you find valuable at 35, they could pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. And I think what Mike Borgonzi is doing a very wise job of, a good job of, is leaving himself open to go any direction.
Yeah.
Right? And so let's say at 35, they want to go receiver. And let's say they like 3 receivers. Those guys aren't there. He said there's depth at the receiver position, so they could get it later.
Yep.
But he also said, well, you know what? You could never – it's always hard to find good offensive linemen. So now if he takes that 35, it's justified in his mind, right? Ahead of time, he justified it. So I think you look at that. Dan Moore Jr., it's, looking at this, they'll save $10 million next season if they release him. Right, he's 22.1 against the cap, 12.7 dead cap. So it's just short, a little over between $9 and $10 million. Yep. And I think just the 4-year, $82 million contract that Dan Moore Jr. got is evidence of how hard it is to find good offensive linemen.
Right.
And one of the things that Dave Ziegler said that really stood out to me when we got to speak to him last year in Atlanta during joint practices was, if you want to live in a certain neighborhood, you got to pay a certain price.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It costs to be in Brentwood, Franklin, etc. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the same with the offensive line. It costs to be. If you want to live in a nice place like that, you got to either spend a high draft pick or spend a big free agent contract.
Yeah, and the Titans last year, they looked at it and said, we need a tackle badly. J.C. Latham was either going to play left tackle or right tackle. They knew that, but they needed another one. Mm-hmm. And you knew the Titans knew at that point they were going to spend the first pick on Cam Ward. Yeah. So it's like, all right, our options are pay $20 million for a tackle or hope that a second or later round rookie is going to be able to step in and play right away.
Yeah.
So I understand why they did it, but you do have to address that position long term. I had always kind of thought, all right, Dan Moore is going to hold things over until 2027, and then you draft somebody next year in the first round and find your left tackle of the future. But I would also understand it, even though I agree with a lot of Titans fans out there, I would rather, no matter who you get it for, whether it's, let's say it's Love or Styles you drafted for, I would much rather go draft an edge rusher or a wide receiver at 35. But you can't reach for positional value. Mike Borgonzi said that yesterday. You've got to be able to find guys who are valuable picks. And if a tackle slips to the second round that you didn't expect to, and maybe some of the wide receivers like Boston and Cooper, maybe they're off the board, the edge rushers, there's a run, I would get it if they went tackle at 35. Maybe wouldn't be my favorite pick just because they've spent so much draft capital on tackle over the past 6 drafts. But I would get it if that was what the decision that they decided to make.
Yeah, and it goes along with Mike Borgonzi's philosophy. You build from the inside out. The trenches, you invest in the trenches, and then you build. And that's what he's done. I would like to see them go in a different direction, but at the same time, you got to strike when you have the opportunity because these guys are hard to find. And then, as Borgonzi said, and it happens every single year. Shoot, it happened, 3-4 years ago with Will Levis. And I know that's kind of a sore spot with a lot of Titans fans, but they're like, yo, wait a minute. This guy was getting conversation to go, 5th overall?
Yeah.
He's on the board. You know what I mean?
Malik Willis was the same way, too. Malik Willis, on draft day, there was talk of him possibly going second to the Lions, and he fell to the 3rd round. Yeah. Again, those picks didn't work out for the Titans, but there is something to be said for value and a position that is that important, that hard to find, and saying, all right, yeah, we didn't feel like he was worth it at 11, or in this case, 4. We didn't think any of the tackles were worth it, but at 35, this guy slipped to us. Maybe it makes sense to go get that guy.
And the thing that I'm saying, like it every year, Thursday, 11:30 p.m., whatever, you're looking and you're like, how the heck is that guy still on the board?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then you have all the team, like whoever has that 33rd pick every year is fielding so many phone calls because they're like, wait a minute, I didn't know Joey Porter was going to be on the board. Oh, right. I didn't know Will Levis was going to be. I didn't know. And now teams are trying to trade up and get them. And that's what Borgonzi alluded to at 35. You never know because there could be a guy that fell that's still up there. And you're like, we got to take him.
Yep.
And that's the mindset sometimes.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Offensive line is definitely a position that needs to be addressed in this draft. The question is where? Does it happen on day 2? Does it happen mostly on day 3? We'll talk about that coming up next. There's also been the idea, and I heard you talking to Robbie and Joe about this too, of don't take Jeremiah Love because the offensive line isn't good enough. I wanted to get into that conversation as well. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Get your questions in for TD. We will give you a chance to talk to TD coming up at 10 a.m. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up. 102.5 The Game.
Trading down from 35 rather than 4, how much easier is it because there's less separation between the talent?
At 35?
You're going down from 35 rather than 4.
Yeah. It depends. Really, draft to draft, it really depends. Some guys you don't expect sometimes that come out of round one. You think they're going to get taken in round one, right? Everyone's draft board is a little bit different. So, I think you have to look at the cluster of players that you have in there. Sometimes when you're picking high in the second, there's a player that you really like. I think you just take the player. Now there's 2 or 3 players that you like at the same value, and you think you move back a little bit and still get that one of those players, then you do that. So I think it varies year to year. Sitting at the top of that second round.
That was Mike Borgonzi yesterday talking about how much easier it is to trade back from 35 rather than 4, given the quality of player on the board. And TD and I just kind of talked about that as well, of sometimes guys that you thought were going to be well gone in the first round slip to you at the top of the second, which could end up playing a role in what the Titans decide to do at the 35th overall pick. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up.
8th grade, I remember. Oh, man, Bobby. I remember being on the cordless phone singing Tenderoni to a Tenderoni. I was a damn mess, man.
Again, we've dubbed this, it's TD Thursdays, but when TD's on a Friday, it happens sometimes. Feel Good Friday. And we are feeling great. 6 days away from the NFL draft. It is finally almost draft week. Monday, we will finally be into draft week, and excited to see what the Titans do. We just had the conversation, TD, about possibly taking a tackle early. Offensive line has to be addressed. I just wonder how early Mike Borgonzi is going to want to go there. I expect to see at least one addition on the interior of the offensive line. Maybe that's at 66 or 101. Maybe you add another on day 3. But they definitely have to address it, because looking at this roster, I think that's the weakest spot right now is center, right guard. That's where you have the most questions about this Titans roster.
Yeah, that interior, and it's at a major position, right? That's one thing you ask any quarterback. They hate that pressure coming up the middle. They hate the pocket being pushed back into their face mask. So when you have that situation that they have now where there's the question marks, you do have to address it. That's why like a Chase Besantis, Emmanuel Pregnon, like those guys could sneak right in there and be a pick for the Titans, to start day 2. So you definitely have to consider that. And it's not the sexy position, but those are the positions. Like it's like the activator for something else, right? That's the sexy position, or prelude to the sexy position rather. Whereas like offensive line, that's what allows a running back to really be able to do what he does.
Right.
You do have special guys that could do it regardless, but it definitely helps when you had an O-line. And I think that's what you got to look at, just the under the surface moves that are really the building blocks.
And we've heard the argument of you can't take Jeremiah Love because the offensive line isn't good enough. And I think it's the exact same argument that people had around Cam Ward last year. People were saying, well, you don't take Cam Ward because you're setting him up to fail with the roster not being good. If you think you got a franchise quarterback, you take him. Yeah. And I think the same thing could be said for Jeremiah Love, especially in this year's draft, of you're sitting there at 4, you take the best player. Like, I don't know who the best player is going to be on their board at that point, but you need good players. And you can't say, well, our team's not good enough to take that guy, so let's take somebody else who we don't think is as good. Take the best player. I don't think it matters what's going on around him. You hope that if you draft that good player, you can draft some other good players and build the entire roster up. But the offensive line shouldn't stop you from taking Jeremiah Love.
Right. You take, and just like Borgonzi said, if you see a player that you really like staring you in the face, like, you take them.
Yep.
And you figure it out. There's one thing that you got to remember. You can never have too much talent on a roster.
Yeah.
You can never have too many good players. And you just figure it out, and things tend to fall into place, right? And I think that's the important part of it. I remember, it reminds me, to go back a little bit to, I'm going to say 90, 97, I want to say. Maybe 97, 98. Andy Reid, they had Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent at corner. We talking about two really good. Bobby
Yeah.
Taylor was the Michael Irvin eliminator. You know what I mean? And Troy Vincent was just a really good corner. And they had Al Harris. They drafted Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd. And everybody's like, what the hell is Andy Reid doing?
Right.
First round pick, Lito Shepherd. Third round pick, Sheldon Brown. You know who started for the Super Bowl team? Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd. Because it was, okay, I'm grabbing guys that these are talents that I really like. I'm grabbing them. I know we already have 3 corners, but we're going to bring, and it's going to sort itself out. 2 years later, it sorted itself out. Bobby Taylor, retired, well, worked his way out of the league. Troy Vincent went to Buffalo. Al Harris went to Green Bay. And now you had 2 corners there that could step right in and start.
Yeah, and I think we had the conversation last week, too, of Titans made a lot of investment into cornerback this offseason. That doesn't mean they're done. They're probably going to add a draft pick at corner or in the nickel or something like that. Staying on the offensive line here, I do think you're going to see a pick on the interior, I would guess, with one of the second, third, or fourth round picks, or if you were able to manufacture one in a trade or move back up. I think you're going to see a significant investment in a center or a guard early on. I don't think this is the way they're going to go. But I had the thought last night when Mike Borgonzi was talking about tackle. If they were to draft a tackle, I heard you pronounce his name from Arizona State. And
Iheanacho.
Iheanacho. Yeah. He would be the guy that I'd look at 35, that if he makes it out of the first round, maybe that would be on the table for the Titans at 35. And I know people would be upset of, well, you're drafting a guy who's not going to play this year. Mm-hmm. What would your thoughts be? And again, I'm not advocating for this, just a question. If you draft a tackle at 35, have him be your right guard this year, and then move him to left tackle after Dan Moore leaves. Again, not advocating for it, but I thought, the idea is have your best 5 guys out there. Would it make sense to draft a tackle, have him start at guard for you, and then bump out to tackle once Dan Moore's contract is done?
Yeah, I think it depends on the player. Honestly, me personally, I typically, in my world, I try to avoid. But I get what you're saying, because you're like, all right, well, we got this asset. Let me use this asset. Let me. I hate to say that. We have this player. Let me get what I can out of this play. Like, let me give him a chance to play immediately at this position, and then we'll shift it. But I get wary about doing that. Now,
stunt his growth as a tackle.
Left tackle, right tackle, that's different. But guard and tackle is I wouldn't do it. But it depends on the prospect, because you got some guys who have played both.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, and I would agree with you that you don't, if you're drafting a guy to be your franchise left tackle eventually, you don't want to mess with his development. But I also struggle with the idea of, all right, if you run Cordell Volson out there at right guard and he's horrible, and you've got this guy who you feel like is a really good offensive lineman and he's just riding the bench for all 17 games. Like, I can see both sides of it, but I agree on your side. Like, the short term is less important than the long term if you're drafting a guy you think can be your franchise left tackle.
And you got to be careful with the psyche, right? Like, if a guy's out there and he's playing a position he hasn't played before and he's getting rocked, play in and play out, his confidence could get damaged. And now you're going back and, all right, man, I got to build him back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then put him at a premium position at left tackle.
Right. That's that it would be something you'd have to have supreme confidence in the player and in your offensive line coach to be able to pull that off. And, it's a risky proposition to move a guy around like that.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, it's a TD Friday, a feel-good Friday here. We got TD for the full show. Again, your chance to talk to TD coming up at 10. You got about 15 minutes. Get your questions in on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We will get to all of your questions in the 10 a.m. hour. We will wrap up hour number 1 after this. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Tee it up with us at the 5th Annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
No.
There you go.
No, you didn't.
It's a feel-good Friday on Next Man Up. We got TD for the full show, 6 days away from the NFL draft. We want your questions for TD. It can be about his singing and his talent. Should he go on American Idol?
Hey, man. Ruben Studdard did it. I could do it.
There you go.
TD, have you ever done karaoke before?
Nah. No. I didn't. I almost did. I told my girlfriend and I, we went to Chicago and met up with one of my friends, and he's a karaoke king. And I got up there, I put my arm around him, but and bounced with him as he did the karaoke. But I wasn't doing it.
I think I've done karaoke 3 times in my life.
Yeah.
None of them went all that well, which I expected, right? But that's what no one does karaoke well. My favorite karaoke guys are the ones who do the screamo, like let the bodies hit the floor, like, and just take the whole vibe of the bar to a completely different place. They do it better than everybody else.
Let the bodies hit. I remember they did a highlight tape of Marion Barber, rest in peace, highlight tape.
That's
all.
all.
He had the most violent runs, and they just said, "Let the bodies hit the floor, let the body." And he's just running, trucking people and stuff, man. Too funny.
It's amazing. The draft is 6 days away. We are continuing to go through all of the scenarios for the Tennessee Titans. Your chance to ask TD any question is coming up at 10, so call, text 615-737-1025. We'll get to those coming up at 10 a.m. We've gotten a couple texts here, TD, overestimating the value of Will Levis in a big way. I have 2 trade proposals for you with Will Levis. Ryan in Florida. TD, what do you think of trading Will Levis and a 6th-round pick for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Hey, man.
Sign me up.
If Monty Ossenford to do it, sure.
Agreed.
But I don't think he'll do that.
And then Josh says, I think we should trade Levis for Jake Matthews. Again, if the Falcons would be willing to give up their starting left tackle for Will Levis, great. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, I get it. You want to shoot high, so that way, you settle still high. But, yeah, I doubt that's happening. Matt Ryan ain't doing that.
I don't think so. That would not be a great way to reintroduce himself to Falcons fans as the president of football operations. What do you think Will Levis's value is next week? Because I think the expectation is he's going to be traded during the draft. If they don't get the value they want, sure, there's a chance he sticks around. But I think he's going to be traded. Do you think this is more of a could you move up from 101 back into the 3rd for Levis? That's what you think it could be?
Yeah,
okay.
That's exactly what it is. To me, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to fetch you like a pure, unadulterated, like a pick.
Right.
I think it's going to package it, move up into, and the advantage that the Titans have. Like, let's say 3rd round, Chris Bell is still there, and you're like, oh my goodness, he's still
right. And you already picked at 66, and it's like, all right, we don't pick again until the top of round 4. We got to go.
Yeah. And you're like, hey, you call Mike Bergonzi calls his homies in Kansas City. Hey, listen, man, that's the type of deal I think Levis can help them do.
Yeah, I think you've got the pick right at the top of round 4. I think that's an opportunity for the Titans to get back into the top 100, get back into day 2. Maybe Levis helps you do that. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Will Levis is valued at by the league. Like, is it just, hey, 101 and Will Levis could get you into the mid-80s? I don't know. Maybe somebody values him that much. Or is it more like, hey, 101 and 144 plus Levis gets you into the 80s again? I don't know. But I do think that's how he's going to be used. It's not going to be Will Levis straight up for the 110th pick in the 4th round. It's going to be them using Will Levis as a trade chip to maneuver around the draft board.
Exactly. That's the way I see it. And I mean, We got some interesting texts, but
Yeah.
I don't think any of those fall into play. It's going to be a combo type of thing.
Right. I've got to say, I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. for Will Levis in a sixth is going to fly down there in Arizona. But I do think there could be some movement. I don't know if you saw Brett Veach yesterday with the Chiefs in his pre-draft press conference said he thinks that there's going to be a lot of movement in the top 10. And we do hear that almost every year of like, oh, there's a lot of trades in place, and then no trades happen until the 12th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
But I do think it's not off the table that the Titans could trade down from 4. It would just have to be an offer that, knocks your socks off, probably. Maybe 2 firsts this year if it's a team like the Cowboys or the Chiefs, or first this year and a first next year, maybe a top 100 pick this year as well.
Yeah, it could be something along those lines. And I mean, look, you moved to 12 now. Okay, Jordan Tyson, right? Because Borgonzi said they're not worried about the medicals.
Well, and he's working out today, right?
Exactly. As I looked down and saw 17, I said, yeah, we'll mention it.
Yeah, I think Jordan Tyson, I don't think he's going to be the Titans pick, obviously at 4. But like if you trade back and you're in that, like with the Chiefs, and you're in that 9 range, or the Cowboys at 12, and he falls down there, it wouldn't be an awful pick. People are gun shy to pick injured players around here. The Caleb Farley thing still hangs in the back of your mind. But Jeffrey Simmons was injured when you drafted him too. And Tyson's issues, it's not a back injury. Looking back, taking a guy who had a ton of back surgeries, probably, and 2 torn ACLs at that point already, I think, probably wasn't your greatest move. But Jordan Tyson, if the Titans say they're not concerned about the medicals, he works out today and things go well, I wouldn't hate it in a trade back scenario. Yeah. I think it would be, if they trade back, I would guess it would be for a wide receiver, right? Because Tate probably not worth the 4th pick. Tyson and Lemon definitely not worth the 4th pick. But if you get one of those guys at 9, 10, 11, 12, I think you'd feel a lot better.
What about a Mesidor? Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah.
If you go back 15 to 20.
If you get Cowboys 12 and 20, Lemon and Mesidor is your 2 picks.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
And then you could go guard at 35 with Basantis or Pregnon. I think that'd be a pretty good haul to come out of round 2 with.
Absolutely. I'd be more inclined to go Tyson and Mesidor. I think Lemon is just repeating what you have already.
Right. Yeah.
In Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
But boy, Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson and Mesidor. I'd be okay with that. And we talked about the value of those 2 players versus Love with Corey on Wednesday. And a lot of people are saying you don't pass on Jeremiah Love because he's a guaranteed surefire thing. And I'm like, there are no guarantees in the NFL draft.
I'm old enough to remember Kenjana Carter.
Yeah.
Of course, it was injury. I'm old enough to remember Curtis Enos.
Yeah.
No offense, Penn State fans. I just mentioned 2 of them. But, I'm old enough to remember, hey, look, like, we thought Reggie Bush was going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Very good player, but not a Hall of It's such a crap shoot. Darren McFadden. Everybody thought Darren McFadden was going to be
right. And that's what we tried to say. Is like they're like, well, Jeremiah Love is guaranteed, while the 12 and 20 players just are probably replacement level starters. I'm like, no, like Jeremiah Love, I think he is the most likely to succeed in this draft class based on what we know about him. But you never know. And the players you get at 12 and 20 are going to be pretty good. These aren't 5th round picks you're getting. They're 1st round picks you're getting. 615-737-1025. Titans going to have options on the table at number 4, whether they stick and pick, whether they trade back. We want to get your thoughts on the Titans draft. Any questions you have for Teron Davenport, send them in right now. We see on the phone lines. We see some of them on the text line. We will get to all of them coming up in the next half hour. 615-737-1025. It is your chance to talk to TD. Get your questions in right now. Hour number 1 in the books. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It is a feel-good Friday with Teron Davenport live in studio. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We are under a week away from the NFL draft in Pittsburgh, and it is your chance to talk to TD right now. 615-737-1025. Any questions you have for Teron Davenport, we will get to them over the next 30 minutes. We've got some good ones on the text line, but let's start by going to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Gil from California is called in. Gil, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, y'all. How's it going this morning?
What's going on? How are you, man? Coming in from the west side?
Yeah, you already know. I love tapping in with y'all. What I was gonna say is I hope that I just want to see the Titans build the team up from the trenches. So that's what they say. They wanted to start Cam Ward from scratch. So I would think that, you get Jeremiah Love, you get some big boys over there on the offensive line, because I really don't see a big need at edge rusher and receiver early in the draft. I think those can be fixed late in the draft at receiver. And Javon Towney put up 8 sacks last year. I don't know where that would have been on the Titans, ranked on the Titans. But my question to you, TD, is a hard one. But if the Titans had to sign 2 free agents before the draft, who would they be right now in your books? It's on you.
That's a good question. I think it would be what they did. Alontae Taylor and Wan'Dale Robinson. Those then you got John Franklin. Yeah, you said 2. So all right, I'm gonna go. Jesus, Lord, it's hard to be. John Franklin Myers is I'll probably say I'll go John Franklin Myers and Alontae Taylor, because I believe you could get a Wan'Dale Robinson in the draft.
Yep, I think it's good.
A little bit easier than those guys. So that's what I would go. Well, what you think, Gil?
That's about right. No, I was saying, you might have heard me wrong. I was saying before the draft comes up, if you had to sign 2 free agents right
so
now.
Guys who are still out there right now.
Oh, that's available now.
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, before the draft, what 2 free agents would you sign?
Oh, good question. Kevin Zeitler. That's one of them.
Yeah, he's the one that stands out.
I'm trying to think who else is available still. Kevin Zeitler.
The one people bring up is Juwan Jennings, but I don't see that being a fit here.
Yeah. Kevin Zeitler for sure. Are there any
let's see. Here are the top free agents still out there. Joey Bosa is still out there if you wanted to add him on a 1-year deal. Bobby Okereke from the Giants, so he was under Daboll, could be linebacker edition. They've still got Dylan Parham listed as a free agent.
Who are some of the give me another linebacker, like a middle linebacker?
Let's see. Linebacker. Got Bobby Wagner, Bobby Okereke, Levante David. Levante David retired, didn't he?
Yeah, he retired.
Logan Wilson, Kenneth Murray, old friend, Matt Milano.
Man, Matt Milano used to be
Is
good.
Devin Bush still out there?
Gil, I can only give you one, boss. Kevin Zeitler's the only one I could. Right now, you sign a free agent right now, it's not really going to dictate what you do draft wise. You know what I mean? So I'll say Zeitler.
Yeah, I think they're going to be more moves. They've got all the cap space, and they still have holes they need to fill. But I think at this point, you wait and see what you're able to acquire in the draft. Mm-hmm. And if you still feel like there are spots where you could add a player or two, that's when they'll go back to free agency. But that's a good question, Gil. Again, it is your chance to talk to TD, 615-737-1025. Send your questions in. You can text or call. Trevor asks, we're getting a little uniform question in here. We saw earlier this week the Commanders drop new uniforms. Last night, the Ravens with new uniforms. Out of all the teams that got new jerseys this offseason, TD, which one do you like the most and the least?
I'm going to go. I like the Titans.
I think I like the Titans the best out of all of them. Completely unbiased, I think they are better than the other ones that we've seen come out.
Yeah.
The Falcons are a little bit bland. The Ravens, honestly, not much changed on the Ravens uniforms.
Yeah.
They added the You know how the Rams have like the plastic outline on their numbers?
Mhm.
They added that, and then they added an alternate black helmet with like the front-facing raven on it. But outside of that, they didn't
Yeah.
change a whole lot.
I'll probably go with the Rams because it's more of the same.
Yeah,
to
the
me.
Rams was
Yeah.
the. I know you said you haven't watched The Office, but it was the corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures.
And
It's the
you're like,
same picture.
Yeah, but I think the Titans, hands down, they did the best job with the rebrand.
I agree. I think the Titans have the best one. Let's see. We got a few more questions on the text line. Ron says, I asked this question yesterday on DVD. I want to ask you, TD, in the later rounds, like the 4th, 5th, and so on, players they haven't done much research on or haven't seen a player play or they don't know much, are they still watching tape in the war room during the draft as they prepare for their next selection?
Yeah, you're still watching because you're always you're always evaluating. And sometimes you'll go back, like you'll go back and you'll say, hey man, you know what, let me just check. It happens. Again, you're always evaluating.
Yeah, I would guess that would be the case of like, hey, we're coming up on the clock in 5 picks. These are the 2 guys we're looking at. Let's go watch a couple of clips from each and just see, all right, did we miss something?
Yeah.
Is there something that we really like here? I'm sure that's going on throughout the entire draft. Let's see. Caleb asks, we talked about this one earlier, but he asked, how important do you see a potential tackle selection at 35 with Dan Moore potentially being cut after this upcoming season? We said it's an option, but they also aren't backed into a corner to do it because of Dan Moore. They can address that this year or next year.
Yeah.
Caleb, if you missed that one, we talked about it pretty much to start off the show. Belvis, he's got a little mock draft here for you. Belvis from Houston says, if you don't trade back, you stick and pick. What do you think? Love at 4, Malachi Lawrence from UCF at 35, and then Anthony Hill or Jacob Rodriguez at 66.
I'm not mad at that. It's a stretch, Rodriguez or Hill at 66. That's a stretch. I think they will go in the second round, but if you could, that's a nice haul.
Yeah,
that's a very nice haul.
I wanted to ask you about linebacker in general. Like, is that if Sonny Styles, if they think he's the best player on the board at 4, I get taking him. You're picking at 4. You want to get difference makers. You want to get game changers. And if you think Sonny Styles is that, go ahead and take him. But do you think that's a position they are valuing later on in the draft to add if it's not a guy like Sonny Styles?
Well, that's the thing, man. You look at some of the guys that, Saleh has been associated with. Bobby Wagner, with 4th round pick, I think he was.
That sounds right.
Fred Warner, 3rd round pick. And these guys, Bobby Wagner's case, Hall of Famer. Fred Warner's case,
2nd round pick. Bobby Wagner.
2nd. Okay, excuse me. Wow, I thought he went later than that. But Fred Warner, you're talking about pick number 70. You know what I mean? So it's like these guys, they found later, and he's been able to, and that's something that Bergonzi said, he's had success with that position, regardless of the position. You also put in Quincy Williams, who they got from Jacksonville. So there are, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough because conversely, right? Because I always want to look at both sides of it. You could say, okay, well, and this is, I had Rand Carthon on talking with TD, and he brought this point up. You look at Brian Daboll, he found success with a 5th round running back. Then last year with Cam Scatterboo
in the 4th round,
in the 4th. So it's like it could be done. Like you don't have to get one of those guys, but it definitely helps.
I think it's one of those things with running back and linebacker where you can say, yes, you can find good players later in the draft. That's why they're not valued as much. And that's why beyond Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles, we probably won't see another running back or linebacker go in the 1st round. Right? There's nobody that I'm thinking of that would go in the 1st round other than those 2, because you can find good players later in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Can you find elite players later in the draft? And that's what you are. If you take Love or Styles, that's what you expect them to be. 615-737-1025. Again, it's your chance to talk to TD. Let's go to the phone lines. Edward is called in. Edward, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
These conversations sound eerily familiar for the last 20 years. I'm done. Okay. I've got a couple things I want to talk about. When at the end of October, and TD, I respect the heck out of your opinion.
Thank you.
I think you do some great commercials too. But at the end of October, we're 5-3, 6-1, 7-2. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's when you got my attention. My dad once told me, he said, son, winning is the cure-all for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. So yeah, it just seems to be and mine's ownership. I'm just going to go right back to that. But to change it up a little bit, the 5 greatest organization players of all time. Just hear me out and then get your thoughts and maybe your top 5. I'm going with Earl Campbell. I'm going with Steve McNair. I'm going with Eddie George. I'm going with Warren Moon, and you're going to be surprised at this one. Curly Culp. Give me your thoughts. Enjoy your show, really do, and respect both of you guys' opinion. I think you know what you're talking about. But that's when the Titans will get me back, and when I get their attention. You can call me a fair-weathered fan or not, but when I said 20 years, I mean that. That's how long I have been hoping and wishing and everything else. So, all right, guys, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Edward.
I like that, Edward. I don't think Edward's a fair weather friend. He's a don't tell me, show me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Talk is cheap. I'm sick and tired of the talk. Show me action. And I think that's where he is.
It's been a few months since we brought up the stat that they haven't won back-to-back games since November of 2022. Like that, I get what he's saying. Like, yeah, don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be completely bought in until you show that you can string together not just one win here and there, but like actually start to show you're a better team.
Yeah.
His top 5, notably missing 22, the King. Like
that's the only swap.
That I mean, yeah,
his first 4
were right.
And salute Curly Culp. But come on.
I mean, and quarterback and running back are going to be the 2 that get the most attention. So, like, obviously, you're saying Warren Moon, Earl Campbell, Steve McNair, Eddie George, Derrick Henry. I mean, there are other non-skill, but like Bruce Matthews probably needs to be in the conversation too. Defensively, there's plenty that you could put in there. Like Keith Bulluck could be there. Man, and I hate it because his career wasn't long enough, but like the freak probably, like if he was able to stay healthy, he probably would be in that conversation too. Yeah. So that's a good list. It's a good list from Edward.
My thing is with Derrick Henry. Obviously, the Super Bowl team, like that was,
yeah.
But that 2019 run, like when they started to pick up, and I'm talking about like going to New England and beating them, going to Baltimore and beat like that. Man, they had a daggone pep rally.
Yeah, I mean
downtown.
Derrick Henry, the Titans winning 2 games and getting back to the AFC Championship for the first time in over 15 years. With their quarterback throwing for less than 100 yards in both playoff games. Like that shows you how good Derrick Henry was and is. And he definitely deserves to be in that top 5. 615-737-1025. We see your questions pouring in on the text line. We see you on the phone lines. We will continue to take your questions for TD on the other side. 615-737-1025. Today, Vanderbilt baseball takes on Kentucky. First pitch is at 5:30, and you can catch all of the action on 1025 The Game with coverage presented by Gary Force Acura. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. It is your chance to talk to TD. We may have to extend this one. We got some good questions. We'll see how many we can fit in here in this segment. Let's start by going to the phone lines. Matt has called in. Matt, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, fellas, can you hear me?
We got you. What's going on?
Hey, sure. It's all good. I turned on and I heard some Ja Rule. I said,
that's what I'm about to say. What you thinking of Ja Rule and Ashanti bringing you in, man?
Little walk-up song.
That's what's up. Hey, I say, well, TD's got to be there. They playing some rap or whatever. Hey, real quick, I just want to know, y'all can settle one thing for me. I'm on a text line with me and my other fellow season ticket holders, and I have said that Love is going to be the pick because they want to get better now. I'm not saying they're not worried about the future, but anybody else will be helping them get there. If they get Love, it's going to help them get wins next year, in my opinion. But my question to y'all is, what does a successful season look like for them? I say 6 wins or better.
Mm-hmm.
They can't win. They can't lose. They got to win at least 6 games. They won 6 in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to y'all is, what do y'all both see as a successful season for the Titans this coming up year?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think 6-7 wins is a successful season. The main thing is you have to show some progress, and you have to show like some excitement. Okay, you know what? Next year going into the new stadium, this is why you want to come see the Tennessee Titans, because we have this guy in Jeremiah Love who you better not. Now we set it up to where you could go to the concourse and get yourself a pretzel and whatever and still see, but you better not
look away.
When he's on offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, to your point about Jeremiah Love, the value he brings. I don't know that he's the pick though. You know what I mean? Because you look at Sonny Styles, and I know it's not a sexy position. This defense, they gave up 28 points a game last year.
Yeah.
See, if Sonny Styles is not Ray Lewis, they cannot pick him.
He might be.
Can't.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you there.
But can't you say the same thing about Jeremiah Love though? Like if Jeremiah Love isn't Christian McCaffrey, like is that a failure to take him in the top 5?
I think he doesn't have to be. I think he just has to. We have to have somebody. So what I'm saying is, you get him. He can run the ball. He can catch it. That's 2 things. You don't have to have this. Go out and get this receiver or whatever. You get a receiver later. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
no,
look, he could be Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
If it's me, making the pick, and go ahead and you know what I mean. We're going to get some Love. You know, I would take Love.
Me too. I would take Love over Styles.
I just get a feeling. Okay. I got a feeling that Styles, man, and
I do too, and I do too. And I said I wonder what TD thinking. I heard you when you was asking the question. By the way, you had some great questions, man.
Thank you.
Like you and my guy. It's my guy used to hang out with in the afternoons. Y'all the only one asking some real questions. Everybody else kind of beating around the bush. But one more thing for you, TD, before I get out of here. Where does DMX stack up in your list of MCs? And I'm out. Y'all have a good one.
He hit. Matt said, man, where does DMX stack up? Oh, that's a good one. Because, man, DMX got some bangers, man. And even just verses. Like 24 Hours to Live with Mace and the Lox. I may, man.
He's really got you going here.
I want to say top 10. He's top 15 for me. I don't know, because it's hard, man. Because Prodigy, the gods, Rakim, KRS-One, DMC, Run DMC, period. Man, you put Jadakiss in there. You got Jay-Z. You got Nas, Pac. Whew, that's hard. I would say probably like top 15.
There you go. I like it.
That's a good question, man.
That Matt just, throw it and run.
Yeah,
Get out.
yeah, he dropped a grenade and ran.
Let's get to back to the text line here. Matthew in Nashville asked this one. TD, do you worry at all that the Giants might try to trade up in front of the Titans to get Jeremiah Love? ESPN seems determined to speak that into existence.
Yeah, well, definitely possible. Or, the Cardinals take him at 3, as Connor Hughes has been pushing. It's possible, but if that happens, then guess what that means? You got Reese or Bailey in your lap.
Right.
So more than likely Reese. So now you got something going. So I think as Borgonzi said, it's almost no matter what, they're going to get a player that they cover,
Right.
that they like. And there's a cluster.
You're going to have 2 of those 4 players we've talked about on the board for you at 4.
Yeah.
Bailey, Reese, Love, Styles. 2 of those guys are going to be sitting there for you, and you'll be able to choose. So there's really not a bad answer. I just know that, Nashville, Cardinals getting ready to make their pick. Nashville's got the hearts up. If they say Jeremiah Love, that heart's breaking all over the Music City.
And if they say Sonny Styles, man.
And I do think if Love goes 3 and you get to walk up and hear Roger Goodell read Arvell Reese off the card, it's good. Like, that is a good thing.
Oh, good.
But
Really good thing.
I do know the fan base, I think, is collectively in on Jeremiah Love at this point.
I think a bigger cushion would be Reese. But if they go up there and say Sonny Styles,
right.
Man,
yeah, I mean, if they
boy.
if they draft Sonny Styles with Jeremiah Love on the board, that would be probably the bigger heartbreak.
Right.
Because I think Titans fans could live with the fact of, well, he wasn't even on the board. We didn't have a chance to get him. But having him there, and then with the 4th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Sonny Styles. That's the heartbreak right there. We'll get to a couple non-football questions to wrap up Talk to TD. Devin and Dixon asks, if you could meet any historical figure, who would it be?
It's easy for me. Marcus Garvey. I've always been huge on his teaching. The Back to Africa movement. Just the not to get too political, but just the for lack of better terms, just the pride in being black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not to say that it's better than anything else, but you have pride in what you are. So I would probably say Marcus Garvey.
That's a good question from Devin. I feel like Devin and Dixon always gives us some of like the life questions that we can ask. Last one here to wrap up Talk to TD. Wesson Hermitage, who is our resident musical artist in town, he heard your singing. He says, I need an opener for tomorrow night. Are you in?
Tomorrow night? I could do that. I could do that. Just this is how we'll have the stage set up, right? I need the props to be a shower, and I need to be able to close the shower curtain.
Okay.
And sing in the shower.
There you go. Yeah.
Then
the crowd's not there, but they can hear you.
Yeah, because you know what? Like, I'm Luther Vandross in the shower, but if I get in front of people, it's a little tough.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That I'm the greatest singer of all time in the shower, but anywhere else.
Now, unless you got some, if you could tweak it like T-Pain and or like how they do with Giveon.
Yeah, does
like
Wes
they
from
tweak
Hermitage
it.
have some auto-tune
Yeah,
ready for us?
You got some auto-tune, we could do it.
615-737-1025. Appreciate everybody who chimed in for Talk to TD. Really good questions this week. We will keep talking draft the rest of the way with Teron Davenport. I thought there was a sequence of the presser yesterday that was just an overall good thought from Mike Borgonzi about the way the war room works. And also we will have some more Sonny Styles conversation, because I think that is the big wild card in all of this is, do the Titans does Robert Saleh love Sonny Styles? We'll talk about all of that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Yes, you would never take a player that a coach does not want. It's happened over the years. I've seen it. I've been in the league for a long time. That's how you develop friction in the organization. You need buy-in when you're taking these players. So whether it's a position coach or it's the head coach, that's why you have so many of these discussions, headed into the draft, and you never want to force a player onto a coach that they don't believe in.
That was Mike Borgonzi yesterday. Talked about the idea of friction between coaching staff, front office, how they deal with it in the draft room to end up making the right decisions. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. TD, I thought Mike Borgonzi did a really nice job of explaining that yesterday of like, hey, you have all these conversations now, and if there's a player that the coach doesn't want, you're not going to force him onto him. But it did make me wonder of just how much input do Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll have on these players. It's Mike Borgonzi's decision, but how much do you think he's listening to what those coaches want for their specific schemes?
I think he's listening a lot, and they did a similar thing to what what Rand Carthon and the previous staff did as far as the coaching tape and seeing the traits and attributes that you want in a player. The good thing in this is at 4, whether it's Sonny Styles, whether it's Jeremiah Love or Vel Reese, I think you're in a situation where it's justifiable, right? Like I would struggle to say that Robert Saleh would not want one of those guys.
Agreed.
We saw it happen before. Saleh wasn't the head coach, but he was a defensive coordinator. That dude did everything except offer his firstborn for Tremaine Edmonds.
Yep.
Consolation prize was Fred Warner. And it's one of those things where you not only have to be a really good evaluator of talent as a general manager, that manager part of it comes into play.
Right.
You got to manage people.
Yep.
So you got to get a Brian Daboll to understand, look, man, I know you really like Jeremiah Love. I like him too. But we're going to go Styles. But let me tell you, I'm going to make sure that we get it back for. We're going to get you somebody. Who are some other guys that you like?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or conversely, hey, Robert, I know you like Sonny Styles, and I know you've always had, a good middle linebacker. But remember, you've been able to do that without guys at number 4
right
overall.
yeah
You've been able to do it with a Fred Warner, and guys like Quincy Williams. We got to get Love, man. We need to sell we got to
help Cam. Yeah.
So there's conversations
Right.
that you could have. Now, as you get later, at 35 maybe, let's say, let's say Denzel Boston is there.
Yeah.
And Greg Lewis is like, man, listen, I don't like, and Dave was like, man, I don't. Now you're in a situation where it's like, yeah, I can't go that route.
Right.
Because,
even if
you know
Borgonzi
what I mean?
has a great grade on him, it's like, hey, this is a value pick. But if Daboll and Greg Lewis are like, hey, he's not going to fit in what we do here, we don't think there's really a good place for him in our offense, then you can't do it.
Yeah. And that's not to say he wouldn't fit, but we're just using. So for those listening,
I really like Denzel Boston.
Yeah,
but just using him as an example.
Mhm.
You mentioned to me during the break, and you were talking about if they decide to go away from Sonny Styles, if they don't take him at number 4. Why haven't we talked about James Williams as a possible? And just to preface, I'm not saying James Williams can be Sonny Styles. Like he is not Sonny Styles, but he is big. He's long. He's a converted safety. If you think that Sonny Styles can play that role, he'd probably do it better than James Williams, but maybe that's your backup plan. If you go somewhere else at linebacker, James Williams could be the guy that plugs in at the middle linebacker spot.
Honestly, I mentioned him. We're discussing him. I think the one drawback is the comfort in zone. That's the one thing. You want a guy in that middle. You want somebody that has a good feel for zone. And here's the thing. You remember 2019 or more 2020. 19 and 20. They used to always say Rashaan Evans.
Yeah.
They would always high-low him, man. You had that crosser coming down, and it's like the Tom and Jerry cartoon where the dog is holding the steak. I mean, the cat Jerry's holding the steak. You know what I mean? To get the dog to come down, and something else is happening behind.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. You got the 2-level crossers, right? And that not having the comfort level in zone, middle of the field, like that could be a huge problem. So I think that's really where the issue with James Williams Sr. is. But I tell you what, though, you keep hearing Robert Saleh say, hey, man, I want a Nick Emmanwori type of guy. I think that big nickel, that linebacker nickel, you know what I mean, that hybrid,
right?
Because obviously, you know, nickel is usually an extra DB in there. But to give you that, I think he could give you, you know, one of those types of looks, match up with tight ends in man defense. I think you got something cooking there. But I just, as we went through the break and came back, I thought about it and I said, I would love to see it, but I don't know that would be, you know, the best thing.
Well, it is funny looking at James Williams and Sonny Styles, and you look, the size is similar coming out of college. Both are converted safeties. Speed, you know, the 10-yard split's about the same, but Sonny Styles ran his 4.46 for Sonny Styles. But you don't realize how athletic Sonny Styles is until you look at James Williams, is probably an average athleticism linebacker. He had a 30-inch vertical. Sonny Styles jumped 43 and a half inches. I mean, Sonny Styles would not be a bad pick. He really wouldn't.
Look, I was sitting right there. I watched that dude do that darn 40, and I just said, "Oh my God!"
Yeah,
and then I watched him do the broad jump, and I didn't even think he was going to run because he did that 11-2. He put his you know, his sweats on and walked to the other side. I'm like, "Oh, he's done, huh?" And they came back and ran a 4.46.
Yeah. And again, I told you earlier, I was watching some Marvell Reese, and I could not take my eyes off zero. So I wouldn't hate it. I would take Love over Styles, but I definitely wouldn't hate the pick. Let's go back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ryan is called in. Ryan, thanks for calling. Good morning.
All right. How are you doing, guys?
What's up?
Let's repeat after me. With the 4th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Jeremiah Love, University of Notre Dame.
Ryan is going. Is this going to be a daily thing from you now, Ryan?
We're going to have to believe it.
Hey, Ryan, where are you? Are you here in Nashville?
In Brentwood.
Oh, in Brentwood. Okay. What are you going to do if they don't pick Love, man?
They need to trade down. If someone takes Love before the 4th pick, they need to trade down and get picked. Jerry Jones would trade his first-round pick in a heartbeat.
2 of them, huh? What are you going to? But if Love and Styles are on the board at number 4 and they don't take Love, what are you going to do?
I'm going to flip out.
Listen,
I don't think you would be alone.
Don't flip out. I want you now. I'm going to have you repeat after me. Okay.
Okay.
I want you to, if this happens, take your left hand and your right hand and put them together, and you say, "Heavenly Father, I beg of you to give me the patience and calmness."
The calmness?
To not overreact.
Do not overreact. Amen.
Amen.
I love it. I think the whole city of Nashville might need that. As Roger Goodell is stepping to the podium with the 4th pick, just say that prayer quickly, just in case.
I would love to be in Nissan State because you know they have a draft party.
Yeah.
I would love to be there.
I mean, if it goes Bailey, Reese 2 and 3, that's the expectation in some order. Bailey, Reese 2 and 3, and it's Love and Styles, and they go. Man, we'll see. We will find out next Thursday night. 615-737-1025. We'll keep having the Sonny Styles conversation when we come back. TD had former Titans GM Rand Carthon on Talking with TD earlier this week. He made a comment about the Ohio State linebacker. We'll get to that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
and the drop-off, consolation prize if they don't go Sonny Styles, Anthony Hill Jr. What are your thoughts on him as compared to the drop-off on Styles to Jr. and the drop-off from the possible drop-off from Jeremiah Love to Tony Pollard / Tyjae Spears?
So here's the thing. For me, I think there's a bigger drop from running back 1 to running back 2 than there is from LB1 to call it LB4, right? And I'm probably one of the few, maybe, I don't know, because I don't know what everyone else has them ranked, but I have Arvell Reese as my number 1 off-ball linebacker. I think him being on the edge is a projection at this point, because he only had, let's call it less than 100 snaps of rushing off the edge. And so I think that's still more of a projection. I've seen him produce at a very high rate playing off the ball. And I talk about this all the time, and I may have already talked to you about it, but Arvell Reese has been comped to Michael Parsons. Well, Abdul Carter last year was also comped to Michael Parsons. So taking those 3, I think Arvell Reese was a better off-ball linebacker. If you're putting those 3 in a group together, I think Arvell Reese was a better off-ball linebacker. But then if you look at from an edge rushing standpoint, I thought that Arvell Reese will be 3rd in that group, right? And no, I don't have a bias in what I've seen Michael Parsons do as a pro, because although Michael Parsons played very minimal snaps on the edge and probably less snaps than Arvell Reese did off the edge, I say when you recognize a high-end blue trait when you see it. And I remember writing in my report, because I didn't love Michael Parsons as an off-ball linebacker like most people did. I thought the best thing Michael Parsons did was go forward. And that was on a very minimal view. But then it also led me to go back and read into his background and realize that he played defensive end in high school. So it wasn't completely foreign to him. And so a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. coming into the fall was my number 1 linebacker. I had him as my LB1 coming into the season. But for me right now, he's finishing on my linebacker rankings as the 4th best linebacker, because I have it Arvell Reese, I have Sonny Styles too, and then I have Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. And then Anthony Hill Jr. Because I love Jacob Rodriguez's ability to take the football away. I think Jacob Rodriguez would be a good pick there. Not the biggest. I think he's 231, 232 at right now, I believe. Now the crazy thing is Azeez Al-Shaair, who's played middle back, who is currently playing middle back in this system. Azeez probably in the offseason walks around at probably about 232 to 234.
That was Rand Carthon on with TD, talking with TD, and you can find that wherever you find your podcast. Talking about the linebacker class in this year's draft, and I think there were some good points in there about Arvell Reese, less experience off the edge than some of the other guys, Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons, that we've talked about. But I thought it was interesting that he says Arvell Reese would be above Sonny Styles when he's looking purely at off-ball linebackers.
Yeah, I think it's different styles, right? Like you have a guy who projects more as a pass rusher, and then you have another guy that projects more as a middle backer, like more of a stack backer.
Right.
And I think that's the difference there. But the key to me in that was the Jacob Rodriguez and Anthony Hill Jr. conversation, because these are guys at 35 that, should be under consideration, or if not 35, a trade up, from 66. I don't think either one of them will be there at 66.
Yeah.
So now you got to look at moving up to get one of those guys.
Yeah, linebacker is, I think if you don't go Styles at 4, I would rather use those picks on day 2 elsewhere. And again, I've said it from the beginning, and I will keep saying it. This team has neglected wide receiver and edged high in the draft for way too long. And so I would really like to see them spend resources there. But I also understand you got to do what the board tells you to do. And if you look at the board and you see, all right, well, we had 3 wide receivers that we really liked at 35, but they've all been drafted at this point. There's a tackle there, or there's a linebacker there that we love. I get it. You got to go with what you think is the most value. But I I think Sonny Styles, you draft him at 4 because he is a playmaker. Same reason you draft Jeremiah Love. They are playmakers. They can be game changers on either side of the ball. I don't think you're getting that with a running back or a linebacker on day 2, even though I think Jacob Rodriguez is a very good player. Anthony Hill's a very good player.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, Jacob Rodriguez, he's, as Rand said, like, he makes better plays on the ball. Like, he's someone that will turn the football over for you. So I think that's the key part of it. Definitely a lot of value there in getting more opportunities for your offense. But, you know, it's just it's there's just so many. It's so many, like, there are so many conversations you could have about each prospect. And that's the tough part about this whole this business and trying to figure out, okay, why is this will this be a good decision?
Yeah.
And being able to sort through that mess, it's tough.
It's why I love the draft. Is we're sitting here 6 days out, and there are still 1,000 different avenues that the Titans could go down next week in Pittsburgh. I mean, there are so many different ways they can go at 4, 35, 66, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's why we love the draft. It's unpredictable. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kenny the mailman is called in. Kenny, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hello, good friends.
What's up?
TD, I've been around a long time. I'm 64, and I sort of consider myself Nashville sports radio historian.
Okay.
And I have to admit, I have never, ever heard a host refer to a Tom and Jerry cartoon to describe a play. And then within minutes, lead a caller in prayer.
Hey,
brother,
man.
You're breaking new ground. What's next? Please tell me what's next.
Oh, maybe I don't know. I can't tell you.
I
man.
mean, we just go where the show takes us.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you hadn't told me, because literally I do love listening all day long, because you never know what you're going to hear, and that makes it fun. The same old gets rather monotonous. But hey, if you can bring Tom and Jerry and a good prayer every now and then, hey, you're on my list. I'm drafting you in the first round. All my best.
I appreciate it, Kenny.
Thanks for the call, Kenny. Yeah, I mean, we never know where this show's going to go. Last week it was the nerd voice talking about analytics, and this week it's Tom and Jerry and leading Ryan in prayer about having patience when it comes to not drafting Jeremiah Love.
Oh, I thought about was something bad happening. I said, I don't want this man to kick his dog or do anything,
Right.
So
it's like, are we going to have riots in downtown Nashville?
Make sure, we got to reel it in.
If he kicks a dog, he's banned from the show. No dog abuse on this show.
No abuse,
or ever.
Period.
Or ever.
Man.
Period.
Abuse.
Period.
We're not going
unless it's Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, cartoon.
615-737-1025. We will talk draft all the way through the rest of the show. We got one more hour with TD. All of our offseason coverage is brought to you by Tennessee Brewworks. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brewworks, proud partner and official craft beer of the football offseason coverage on ESPN 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you for one more hour on your Friday, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Been fun having TD in here for our Feel Good Friday, and we've still got an hour left getting ready for the draft, which is 6 days away. We've talked a ton about 4. Love, Styles, maybe Arvell Reese, maybe a trade back. Lots of options for the Titans at 4. But wide receiver is obviously a big need for this team. You long term, you've got options there for this year with Calvin Ridley back, but you do need to go find a guy, a dude at wide receiver at some point. What do you think the Titans' options are at that position? Mike Borgonzi specifically said yesterday he likes the depth of that group.
Yeah, because that I asked him about the high end.
Yes,
part of it.
Yeah, you said, what do you think about the high end wide receiver? And he immediately went to
right
the
to
depth,
which plays into their hand in this case,
right?
Because they are more than likely at 4 not going to take one. I think you can still get guys, man, like Denzel Boston comes to mind. Chris Bell comes to mind. I think obviously it's a little bit of a weight situation with him as far as time, not like on the scale weight, like you have to wait for him to get right. Ted Hurst is interesting at 66, but then you have the development where okay, this is a guy at Georgia State that wasn't consistently going against top level talent.
Yeah,
he's a good player, but that's going to be a little bit of a curve for him to overcome. So there's definitely options. I mean, let's say Omar Cooper's there, but it's just starting to look more and more like Omar Cooper's going first round. Casey Conception. I've consistently Jeremy Bernard, and in the media room yesterday, it's like, someone was like, well, where would he play? This is a guy you can move around all over the place.
Yeah.
He could play on the ball. He could play Z. He's played in the slot. I mean, heck, the dude lined up in the backfield at Alabama sometimes. So
he gets some Deebo Samuel comps.
Yeah, so you could find something to do with him too. But and the yak. So there are, I think, top first 3 rounds, you could get a guy that could help you out.
Yeah,
much so.
It is like, it's crazy how many names we've mentioned at wide receiver. Of course, there's the 3 that are probably top half of the first round guys: Tate, Tyson, Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you've got the next 3 that are likely first round picks, maybe could slide out. And I think that's what you'd be looking at 35, hopefully. Omar Cooper, Casey Concepcion, and Denzel Boston would probably be that next tier. But beyond that, there's still so many good names. Like we just went through a ton. Didn't even mention Chris Brazzell or Zachariah Branch, or there's the other Indiana wide receiver who's
Chaz Surratt.
Yes, Surratt. Yeah, there's a lot of really good names that could be available, not just at 35, but also 66.
Yeah, and then so this is the thing that, and this point was made in the media room yesterday too, and it's a really good point, is, and you touched on it too, they need a dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, who could be a dude? So that's why I bring up Chris Bell. I think out of those the second level, the second tier, I think he has the best shot of being a dude.
He's one of those guys that it's like Kevin Winston last year. Of yes, the injury is there, but he might have been a first round pick if he was healthy. Right. And you're hoping that by taking the risk of drafting a guy who is going to have to rehab, may not be ready for training camp, that you're getting a value in terms of the player long term. And obviously, I bring up Jeffrey Simmons all the time because Simmons was a top 10 pick, but he tore his ACL. He fell. Titans got an all-pro at 19.
Yep.
So I think wide receiver it's a position that they can address 100% on day 2. 35, 66, you look at it and say, all right, if there's a guy there that we love, we can go get him. I also don't think you have to address wide receiver in this draft because you've done enough there, and you have some of the young guys with Chim and Ellick and even Bryce Oliver you hope is going to be healthy this year. But I do think if it's not this year, it's got to be next year where you find a guy who's going to grow with Cam Ward and be his go-to number 1 option. Doesn't have to be this year, but I do think with the depth of this draft, you may be able to find a guy who could be a future wide receiver 1, even if it doesn't come in the first round.
And this is why, all right, if you could move out of number 4, move back a bit and acquire a first next year, and be in a situation where you're like, okay, I'm going to package this to get Jeremiah Smith.
Yep.
Now, but here's the thing. What's so wild about all that and why you love the draft so much, you have to. Somebody brought up Marvin Harrison Jr. earlier.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me that dude by year 2 was not going to be a
slam
pro
dunk
bowler.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, yeah, you could load up and go get Jeremiah Smith, but even Jeremiah Smith
not a guarantee.
Thing.
No, there's no guarantees in the NFL draft. I brought up that draft class specifically because that's what we talked about it last week, the Mina Kimes stuff of like the A+ running back versus B+ wide receiver. Like a wide receiver has a bigger impact on a team than a running back. And I agree with her. And it's like that 2024 draft is the example. If the Titans were picking 4th in that draft, yeah, there's no chance you take a running back because you had Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors and Joe Alt, who were can't miss prospects at blue chip positions. And you run to the podium to take one of those 3 guys over a running back. There just isn't a guy like that this year. And I do think, like you talk about trading back, if you could trade back, I don't know how far you could go back and get Carnell Tate. I like Carnell Tate as the player. It's the same thing I talk about with Ruben Bain. I like Ruben Bain as the player. I wouldn't take him at 4. Same with Carnell Tate. I like him. I wouldn't take him at 4. If you could move back 7, 8, 9, get Carnell Tate and pick up another pick on day 2 or a future first, sign me up for that. Like I like Carnell Tate as a player. I just think at 4, I'd rather take the guy who I think has the higher ceiling as a playmaker in Jeremiah Love or Sonny Styles.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, the high end. And it's just so funny how it pans out this year where this is a team like they need impact players.
Yeah.
And there are impact players available.
Just not at
the
premium positions. Yeah.
And that's why I asked the question, because it's just like,
yeah.
And I, now that we talk about that, I'm curious what your thoughts are, because when I asked the question, he talked a little bit about some of the other prospects, not by name, and even with at the end, he talked about those guys being premium players, and he said, and there's a certain linebacker that's pretty good. What do you make of that?
Well, we'll play that clip coming back here, and we'll talk about it. How about that? We'll play that clip in the next segment, and we'll talk about that. And that's what this draft is all about at the very top. It's a deep draft, but at the top, it's the players that are blue chip, guys that you think are going to be future All-Pros, don't play premium positions. And Mike Borgonzi did have an answer to TD yesterday at the press conference. We'll talk about that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And let's give away some more Team Boxing League tickets. It is tonight, the Phoenix Fury facing the Nashville Smash at Municipal Auditorium. We've got 2 more tickets to give away to Team Boxing League tonight. Be caller number 2 at 615-737-1025, and you will win a pair of tickets to Nashville Smash and Phoenix Fury Team Boxing League at Municipal Auditorium tonight. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Obviously, that's a premium position. What are your thoughts on the top end of this receiver group?
I think it's a deep receiving class, and I think the top end is really good. I feel good about the options that we have up there in day one and even 2 and 3. I think there's some really good options there.
That was Mike Borgonzi talking about the wide receiver group. We just went through some of the options there. It is a deep class, options at 35 and 66 for the Titans. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday morning. We got a couple more segments with you. And TD, you did bring up Mike Borgonzi's answer about premium positions, and he threw Sonny Styles in there as well. And you had asked about in Robert Saleh's specific defense that linebacker may be a more valuable position than maybe in somebody else's. I really like the way that Mike Borgonzi answered it, that, yeah, premium positions, it's based on what you pay. And like the pass rushers obviously are going to be valued more, but you got to take the right player. And Sonny Styles, Jeremiah Love, maybe not your traditional premium positions, but they're still really, really good players who can make an impact on this team.
Yeah. And the thing that was interesting with that was, when he didn't mention Love, right?
It felt like he was trying to sidestep Jeremiah Love in most of his comments yesterday.
Yeah, and then he mentioned like premium prospects at non-premium positions. Then he said, and there's a certain linebacker that's really good as well.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, how do you analyze and unpack that part of it?
Yeah.
Are you saying that he's a really good player, but not a premium player? Or are you saying with the as well part that he is
including him in that group? Yeah.
It's just hard to sort through that. Like, he did a great job. I don't know if it was intentionally of like leaving so much to, well,
and yeah,
I
so
could
much
be wrong, but if I'm right where I could have been wrong, then I'm right. But I could have been wrong anyway. It's just like, yeah.
That's what Parker and I said yesterday after the press conference. Mike Borgonzi has all of us in a blender right now. Like, we have no idea what's going on at number 4. And part of that is because we don't know what's going to happen ahead of the Titans.
Yeah.
But I think Mike Borgonzi has done a really nice job of, the smoke screens. He said it himself. Like, you never know what to believe. And I love the follow-up of, do you participate in that?
Yeah.
Got to play the game.
Yeah,
you got to.
He had a big smile on his face with that one.
I think there's just so much on the table for the Titans, and Mike Borgonzi. We're not gonna have any idea until Roger Goodell reads the name next Thursday night, and I think things might start come into focus ahead of them. That's usually what happens during the days leading up to the draft. Like, we've known Mendoza for months; he's the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess we'd have a pretty good idea about number 2 heading into the draft. Right now, everybody's back on David Bailey. Could be Arvell Reese. I would assume by the time the draft begins on Thursday night, you kind of know what the Jets are going to do. It's going to be 3. The Cardinals are that pivot point where they could go anywhere with it. They've been connected really heavily to Ty Simpson as well. Like, a lot of people expect that to come later. Maybe they trade back into the first round to come get Ty Simpson. But if they feel like they've got a franchise quarterback, they might just take him. It's not completely off the table. So there's so many different ways that they can go at 3, which of course plays a role in what the Titans are going to be able to do at number 4. 615-737-1025. Let's go to our phone line. Adam in Portland is called in. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got?
So what I've been doing, man, I've been looking back at some of the older drafts on YouTube. You can look up the first round and kind of sit through it. There are more misses than not misses, man.
Oh, yeah.
So like, everybody misses. So, but like everybody, and they bag on the Saints for giving away everything for Ricky Williams. They all thought that was a good trade. They thought they didn't give up enough in the moment. So, which is insane. Like, go listen to nobody knows what they're doing here, dude. So, and I say that to say, if you like Love, cool. There's a chance he won't work out. There's a chance he won't. And at 35, honestly, dude, if you can get something and find a way, I don't know if I've heard anybody say this, find a way to get A.J. Brown back home, do that. Like, give them that second-round pick. That's what I want. I know you can get a good receiver at 35 if they'll make that trade. And they don't need him right now. So I'd find a way to right that wrong. And I think in the hearts of Titans fans, it would be a good trade.
I did see somebody at NFL Network suggest that the Titans go trade for A.J. Brown. It's not going to happen, but yeah, I like the idea. I would trade the 35th pick for A.J. Brown. I don't know if the Eagles would take that deal, but I get what he's saying. Like, I think the stupidest thing that we as a media do is NFL draft grades right after the draft. It is the stupidest thing because you're basing all like the media and fans come up with a consensus draft board and then get annoyed at the NFL teams who actually know what they're doing for going away from what the fans and the media say. Like the Lions draft in
with Jahmyr Gibbs
when they went Gibbs, Campbell, Laporta, Branch, all in one draft, I believe. Those are 4 Pro Bowl, all pro level players. And everybody bagged on them and said they didn't get enough positional value.
And I love Brad Holmes kind of hit him with a "How you like me now" a couple years ago. Later, rather.
Was Laporta in that draft?
I believe he was. I think he was a 3rd round pick. No, yeah, he was a 3rd round pick. Sam Laporta was.
Let me see.
I'm pretty sure.
I love that Pro Football Reference has draft history for every team that you can just pull up.
Was Laporta not a second?
He was a 2nd round pick, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the same draft. So those were all 1st and 2nd round picks. They took Gibbs at 12, Campbell at 18, Laporta at 34, Branch at 45. And everybody said, wow, you took a running back, an off-ball linebacker, a tight end, and a safety with top 45 picks. What are you doing? Well, they got the best player at those positions with their first 4 picks. Like, that's why I think draft grades are stupid. And that's what Adam is saying is like everybody misses, but you just don't know. You're not going to be able to know for 4 or 5 years down the road whether these were good picks or not.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with it. You don't know, and it down the line things start to come into play. But then there's always, the other thing that's really fascinating to me is like I go back and look at Corey Davis, right? And look at his name slipped my mind. Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
The Saints receiver.
Yep. Same draft, right?
Now, do you really think there's that much separation between Corey Davis's talent and Michael Thomas's talent? Do you really think so? I don't.
No.
Situation matters so much.
Corey Davis should have just run more slants.
The best example of that, honestly, and I always bring up Freddie Mitchell. Like Freddie Mitchell coming out of UCLA, this dude was that guy, right?
Yeah.
Talented. There's a chemistry part that has to come into play. He went to the Eagles. He and Andy Reid didn't vibe that well. More importantly, he and Donovan McNabb didn't vibe. Freddie Mitchell was doing his thing in camp. They cut Charles Johnson, who was Donovan McNabb's best friend. And that was damning for Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah.
And he was never able to. I mean, there were times when Freddie was open. Donovan would look right at him and move elsewhere with the. Look at the way it influenced later, with T.O.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I say all that to say, not only is the evaluation part of it, the projection is part of it, but then the situation, like how do you coach this guy?
Yeah, you flip situations. We may be talking about different players as Hall of Famers and different players as busts. Like, I mean, that's far ends of the spectrum, right? But like, I agree with you that situation does play a role into critical. What a player becomes. Yeah. I gotta say, I loved Corey Davis coming out.
Me too.
I was thrilled with the Titans taking him 5th overall. I thought he was going to be a star. And
you couldn't tell me he wasn't.
The injuries obviously were a big part of that. Like early on, he just couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah.
And he showed flashes, but it just never worked out. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jackson Texan says, y'all are the luckiest guys ever. Get to talk about a crapshoot all day. He is not lying.
Yeah,
he is not lying. We've got 6 more days. We've got 4 more shows and 30 minutes left until the draft is finally here. And we are excited. And again, we get TD for draft day. I love that we got TD on Thursdays. It's going to be great. We'll be leading you up right here on 102.5 The Game all the way through the draft on Thursday night. So going to be fun as the Titans add somebody Love, Styles, maybe a couple players. Who knows on Thursday night? Going to be a great night out there in Pittsburgh. 615-737-1025. We got a couple more segments. Let's go big picture to wrap up the show. There's a lot of smoke, a lot of buzz going on around the draft. I want to know, what can we believe with 6 days to go into the draft? We will do that next. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Worcester Red Sox at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35, and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly. It is a feel-good Friday.
Yeah,
we've been feeling good all day.
Slick Rick, man, Mona Lisa, man. This used to be the jam. You be in there like, this is when I had the Mazda MX-6. I had the 4 6x9s in the back, the Pioneer amp, putting 200 watts to each of them. Whew, you hear me coming, and that beat right there will punch so nice and clear. Oh man, good time.
Hear you across the neighborhood.
Good time.
Love it. Love it. We are 6 days away from the NFL draft. It is almost here. And there's a lot of buzz going on right now. I wanted to get TD's thoughts, just big picture. It doesn't have to be Titans related, but just on some of the stories going on around the draft. Number one, Ruben Bain. It seems like the Bain driving story that came out this week not going to impact his draft stock, at least among the teams, right? Like Mike Borgonzi said, they've known about this since last summer. It seems like that was already baked into where he was going to go anywhere. I think him slipping is more going to be about the measurables.
Yeah, it's just so weird how this thing works.
Yeah.
You know, the reason why I'm not talking about him as much is but it's just, again, it's weird because they've known about it. They had him come in. I should have asked Borgonzi if they had him meet with Amy.
Oh,
Adam Strong.
Yeah.
I should have asked. But I believe that he's off their board.
Off their board completely. Or just
at least at 4.
Okay, gotcha.
I think he's off. Just because and this is not reporting.
Yeah, just
talk to Amy.
Speculation
about it. I haven't talked to anybody about it. I speculate that he's not on their board. And I really think the pushback from the Isaiah Wilson situation, I think that's gonna, even a guy like Bain, who, look, man, like the accident, it was literally that, an accident.
Right. It was a mistake.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like
we're not talking about like driving 100 miles an hour and boom, boom.
Right.
You know. But I think guys like that are harmed by guys like Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's spooked.
A little PTSD from the issues that happened there.
And I know with T'Vondre Sweat last year, there was a lot of, like, they really had to lobby. You remember they went to
Texas.
Houston
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot. So I think that's spooked. And it's different this year as opposed to before, to where I think it's easier for a Rand Carthon, for Anthony Robinson, for a Kevin Turk, for a Brian Gardner, for these guys to all like, hey, listen, we could play the unk role for him, and we'll make sure that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas it's a different group now, So I don't know that it would be as manageable of a situation, even if the situation, like, I don't even want to say it that way, because I don't think drafting Ruben Bain is I don't think he brings a situation.
They said they feel good about him as a person. I think it would just be the optics of it for Amy Adams Strong too, of like
the chance,
right.
chance.
Yeah,
I think she has cold feet about it.
And I also, it just doesn't seem like we went through all of the pass rushers that Robert Saleh teams have drafted early. They've all had length, and it's like it just doesn't seem like it would be a great fit anyway. A couple other players sliding. Jordan Tyson, of course. The medicals have been a question throughout the entire draft process. He's working out today. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go earlier than a lot of people expect. Like, I saw the one tweet from Matt Miller, last week, 2 weeks ago, saying he might fall out of the top 20. I think he's going to be 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. That would probably not 10 to the Bengals, but like Chiefs at 9, Dolphins at 11. I think those are landing spots for Jordan Tyson.
Honestly, I would love to see Jordan Tyson here.
Yeah.
In a trade back situation.
Right. if you could get 9 and 29 from the Chiefs to move back, you take Tyson at 9, and then maybe you get Messidor probably doesn't get to 29. But
I like the 12 and 20.
Yeah, getting
like
two
that
top
one.
20 players would be great. But also, if you're at 9 and 29, that gives you the flexibility to get an impact player on defense and also shore up the interior of the offensive line too, while you added the weapon in Tyson at 9. I think that would be an option to trade down. Jermon McCoy, we talked about him last week and the week before of like, hey, it looks like after the pro day, teams are feeling better about him. I've seen some tweets, some reports from people who are pretty plugged in saying there's a chance he has a Will Johnson-esque slide of the injuries moving him down the board. And maybe it's just the fact that he didn't play last year. And you've got to bring a guy who hasn't played competitive football in, close to 2 years by the time he actually steps out on the football field. So,
and that's a tough thing to overcome. You know what I mean? Man, if he has a Will Johnson type of slide, then that's, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Where you have that guy. Wait a minute. 32 guys got picked before him.
Right. Yeah.
He's on the board.
It's like, Jermon McCoy, it's like, he was a top 5 pick when he was healthy. Like, why is he still there? I think somebody's going to be very pleased to get Jermon McCoy later than he should go.
Yeah. If he should go, if he's there at 35, you really, really have to consider it.
Yeah. I agree. If he falls all the way to 35, which I don't think so. I think he's a first round pick, but if he got out and slipped to 35, I would not be against it.
Look at Will Johnson. I remember Jordan Reed posted something about his medicals possibly causing it, but you look at this dude you couldn't tell most people that he wasn't going to be out of the top 10.
Right. Last thing, and I thought Mike Borgonzi had an interesting answer on this too about some of the older players. I know with Akeem Mesidor that there's been the question of the age isn't necessarily an issue because of the second contract thing, right? It's not like you're still going to get good years out of him. It's the fact that why did he not play like this when he was 21? Right? Why did it take until he was 24 and he's got the grown man strength against these guys to actually look like a dominant player?
Yeah.
That's the question you have to ask.
I mean, some guys it's developed later.
Right.
Sometimes, let's see, Jason Taylor, when did he first get to Miami? Because coaching is critical, man. Because you have that. And then, you never know. And he
got there 2 years ago.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
So that could play a role. And then you never know, man, there anything could happen, right? You could go back home. Right? And be home and see something happen, like your friend gets shot or something. Not killed, but your friend gets shot. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Life is really fleeting.
Yeah, it wakes you up.
And then all of a sudden you're like, man, let me take this training a little bit different.
Right.
Or it could just be simple. You go back home. I remember 97, right? I went back home and I had to work in the darn loading bricks onto a freaking train. You know how that's labor, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I don't want to do this.
Hell no.
Yeah.
I'm finding a way to make sure that I don't ever have to work like this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind working like this in training for football.
Right. But
I'm going to make sure I don't ever have to work like this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have to be a catastrophe. There's so many things that could change your paradigm, shift your paradigm, and change how you look at stuff. Who knows? Maybe that happened. But, as Parker has said, Jason Taylor got there 2 years.
That's true. Maybe they just unlocked something with him. I like the way Borgonzi put it yesterday of you have to compare of, all right, this 25-year-old in Messidor is going to come in and he's pro ready. He's going to come in. You don't have to worry about maturity issues. You don't have to worry about the size and strength. That's a grown man that you're throwing out there on the field, but he's probably closer to his ceiling than an Arvell Reese, who's only 20 years old. It's like, all right, he's got all these years to grow and can continue to get better. Whereas Messidor is probably closer to his prime, his ceiling, than a younger player would be.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And it's just like that high risk, high reward part of it too.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah,
he has a lower floor, but is that ceiling higher?
Right.
And I think that's the or a higher floor, but is that ceiling?
Yeah,
rather,
yeah.
You know, as opposed to a Arvell Reese, who was just like, man, this is the most I've never
Right.
seen a
It's
player
like,
this
if
explosive.
we get the
Boom,
most out of
boom.
him, he's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to weigh.
But that's oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
That's the beauty of all this is like there's so many different ways to look at it. And
it's like these prospects, they're like snowflakes. Nobody's the same. Like there's always something different with it. And you know, you've got to be able to see what's going to work the best for your team and work best at the pro level. 615-737-1025. Last call for phones. We've got TD for one more segment. We will wrap up the show coming up next.
One more.
Jake Lyman, Teron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It may be a Friday instead of a Thursday, but we're going out with TD the same way we always do. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. It has been a great feel-good Friday with Teron Davenport. Had to shift things around this week with Mike Borgonzi's pre-draft presser yesterday, but it's been a fun show. Getting ready for the NFL draft on Thursday, and we'll have TD back in to get you ready for draft night in Pittsburgh next week. TD, any final thoughts here as we get closer and closer to the draft? I mean, I really think it is down to those four players that we've been talking about. David Bailey, who I think is the least likely to actually be there, the most likely to be picked if he is there. Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles. I would be really stunned if it's not one of those four names at number 4.
Yeah, I would be stunned also. But, the big takeaway for me out of this is, look, folks, no matter what happens, just watch it. Let it play out. I'm old enough to remember Donovan McNabb getting drafted by the Eagles and people booing him.
Yep.
I'm old enough to remember Colts fans disgusted that Ricky Williams was available and they took Edgerrin James. Okay? Look, initially on the surface, things might look bad, whatever direction they go.
Yep.
But let it play out. Just see, because sometimes you could be surprised. Now, I'm also old enough to remember, people really happy when the Jets drafted Kyle Brady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously that didn't work out. So, look, it could go both ways. All I'm saying is just a little patience, let it work out, and just see what happens.
And you have to remember, the guy that they're taking it for, if it's one of those four guys, you're getting a really good prospect. Like, all of those guys are being talked about as top 5 picks because they are top 5 level prospects.
Yes, they're outstanding
and
prospects.
I know Jeremiah Love is the one that gets people excited. And I've said it throughout the offseason. If I had to pick the guy that I want to see on this team, it's Jeremiah Love, because that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah,
it would
me
make
too.
watching the Titans more fun. But these guys are building a team. They're not building a circus, right? Like they're trying to build a team that's going to win. And I think Jeremiah Love helps you win. I think he would be a good pick at number 4, but they're trying to build a team that's going to win football games, not sell tickets. You want to do both, but Mike Borgonzi's tasked with building a winning football team. If he thinks Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles helps that more than Jeremiah Love, he's going to do it. And I think, like you said, got to have patience and see how it all plays out on the football field.
That's it, man. Just let it play out. See what happens.
That will wrap it up for us. TD, it's been great having you in. Hope you have a great weekend. And the next time we talk, it will be draft week.
Draft week is upon us.
Draft week is almost here. We will be back Monday, 9 a.m., and we will be talking draft all week next week, leading up to round 1 on Thursday in Pittsburgh. But that will wrap things up for us. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.